looking in the textbook.
Not at all. So, they were very supportive. They were very supportive, and they threw questions now and again, and it depended on the approach and the response to conviction. So it was quite challenging, but it was good.
Justice Mary Sey, it's an honor and privilege to have this conversation and spend some time with you. Your accomplishments over the last 35 years are quite extraordinary. Welcome to the African Women in Law Judicial Legacy Project.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
So you left that position having tackled that very, very difficult and challenging case that actually froze the country.
Yes.
And then you came back to Gambia, and now you sit on the Supreme Court. So how was that? How were you appointed to that position?
When there was a change of government in 2016, after they succeeded in overthrowing Yahya Jammeh, then I got a call from the Attorney General then to say, we want to Gambianize the bench, because apparently they had a lot of problems with foreign judges, because he used to make them do whatever he wanted them to do. So now they said, we are trying to get our judges back. Those who had left the country, we are trying to get them back. So please, would you come and serve? And then I said to them, which court are you expecting me to serve on? Because as it is, or as it was then, even though I was appointed as a Supreme Court judge in Vanuatu, their Supreme Court was the equivalent of our High Court then. But then the appointment was that every Supreme Court judge doubled up as a Court of Appeal judge. So during the period when I was in Vanuatu from 2012 to 2017, I was also a Court of Appeal judge, because when the Court of Appeal session was on, we were joined by one justice from New Zealand and one from Australia. Then they joined all the judges in the High Court to form the Court of Appeal. It was a very interesting setup. The only thing is that if your case was on appeal, then you did not sit on that panel. So this was it. So I explained that to them, and then they said, okay, in that case, we'll consider you for the Supreme Court. That's the only place that we can put you, but we want you to come back. And then that was it. So I went to see the Chief Justice of Vanuatu, and I said to him, my contract is still subsisting, because I had a subsisting contract which should have expired in 2017, September. I said, but my people want me to go back home. And he said, Mary, he said, if your country needs you, I won't stand in your way. Definitely, I think you should accept the appointment and we will support you. And that was how I left Vanuatu and came to the Gambia. And I was the first and only female justice of the Supreme Court until last year, when my colleague, Justice Awaba, has now been appointed and has joined me. So now we are 2 female justices on the panel of 7.
What an accomplishment. And to come back full circle and to land on the Supreme Court, that must give you great satisfaction.
Definitely, definitely. Definitely.
So let me ask you, what challenges do you face on the Supreme Court, having that history in Gambia? So are there any particular challenges that you face working with your other 6 colleagues?
No, because they know the story, they know the background. And for 3 of us who are now on the Supreme Court bench, the Chief Justice, Hassan Jallow, was one person who had been victimized by the former government, and that was how he had found his way to Rwanda as the chief prosecutor. In fact, the former president had to make a comment. I think he had to go to Rwanda, and then he was surprised to find Justice Hassan Jallow there. Then when he came back, he made a comment. When I sack them, they all go and get international jobs. Now, when I sack them, I take them to Mile 2 prisons. Because the irony was that nearly most of us that they had gotten rid of, or those who had resigned, like in my own case, we landed international jobs, I guess, because, you know, it was fair enough. We applied for these positions. Nobody, speaking for myself, nobody knew me. All they had was my CV. And I think, you know, that was, it was a good, you know, good credit. So definitely it's not like landing a job in Gambia and then they would say I pulled strings, so it's because you knew X, Y, Z. So this is it. So we all came back. Justice Cherno used to be a draftsperson at the Attorney General's chambers. He also had to leave, and he also was approached and brought back because he ended up as the Attorney General of British Virgin Islands, you know, which was a very good position as well. So he also came back. So, you know, so we are working very well, and we've been, I don't know whether you are familiar with the judgments that we've been delivering, but really the whole country is happy with the independence of the judiciary as it is, and our judgments are very sound, I can say that. You know, we haven't had any dissenting judgment so far. It's all been unanimous, and I hope we continue to deliver good, sound judgments. So it's good to come back, and, you know, I'm very happy that I'm back.
Yeah, and to think all of you stood for the independence of the judiciary, and now you're in a position to ensure that independence. I want to move now to your legacy and some of the lessons you've already shared. As you were rising, as you mentioned, as you were being this trailblazing, amazing jurist and woman, you were also raising your family with 2 children, and I'm sorry to hear that your husband passed. What advice do you have for men and women that are trying to juggle both the career and the family?
It's just to be organized, you know, just to be organized and tip the balance. Don't put too much emphasis on one, because definitely if you do, one will definitely fail. You know, it's not easy, but you need, from the moment you leave your bed in the morning and you are giving instructions to, you know, your helpers to do X, Y, Z, you've started the day running. And at the same time, you go to the office. When I'm in the office, I'm in the office. This is it. You know, sometimes I think I get too involved, but the way I see it, when I'm in the office, I'm in the office and I've come to do my job and I'm doing my work. At 4 o'clock, when I'm going back home, then I tune my mind to going back home and being with the family. I think that is what has helped me. It's a bit, I wouldn't say it's selfish, but it has helped me to organize myself. So they know it so much so that they do not disturb me with phone calls, you know. So anytime I see a phone call from the house, I pick it up because I know it is crucial. But, you know, I don't allow them to start calling about something that they can handle, you know. I think it's just to be organized and be in the right frame of mind, because when you go to work, you give up your best. And that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
And then one of the things I've observed, at least on the continent, you're blessed to have extended family and be in a position where you can hire helpers. One of the big problems or challenges we face here in the US is childcare is so expensive. And most of that burden, as you know, falls on women. So it also makes it very, very difficult. In addition to raising your family, you were doing other great things. You were giving back. And are you now still the president of the Gambia Judges Association? I know I read that you were president. You worked with the Gambia law reports, making sure decisions are reported. You're active, and I think the first chancellor of the Anglican diocese. Yes. Why is it so important for a judge to not just wear the black robe, but to be engaged in the community as a leader?
Yes, to show that I appreciate what's happening around me and the community, you give back, because the church has been very supportive. You know, they've recognized me as a woman, they've recognized me as a Christian, and what I'm doing in the community. So when the bishop approached me and asked me to be the chancellor, I couldn't refuse, and I'm still the chancellor of the Anglican diocese, you know, and it involves legal matters because the chancellor is like the legal advisor. So right now we are preparing for the election of a new bishop because our bishop is due to retire in April of 2022. And that mantle falls on my desk. So I have to organize the elections and prepare, you know, the candidates and everything. So I'm looking forward to that. That will be done in October. So at least that keeps me going. And I'm also the president of the Gambia Judges Association. And what we have done, we've said, look, we need to have a forum where we will look after each other. So if there's something, it's not just writing judgments, you know, social views, social opinions, or if there's anything that has happened, or if a justice has been attached on social media, we get together and then we say, okay, this is how we go about this, and, you know, release a press statement or do all these things. And, you know, it's a way of getting together. And when we meet, you know, we have fun. We have subscriptions, monthly subscriptions, and now and again we, you know, just socialize, get together, go out for dinners and things. I think it's important because it just shows it's not just work, work, work. You know, all work and no play also is not too good. So that's how I've been involved in the community. Yes.
And then the other thing is, judging is so isolating. The independence of the judiciary, you have to stand back, at least in the legal community, and there are just certain things you can't do, certain things you can't join,
certain places
things you can't go to. So if you don't have your judges to look to help each other, you know, who will really support you? The other thing is in terms of teaching and advice to young people, because I believe that teaching spirit is something that has resided in you and has continued. Yes. So why don't you talk about your philosophy, or why you help young people, why that is so important to you?
Yes, it's just to encourage them, because the way I look at it, if I had not got that encouragement, I would not have been where I am today. So definitely, I feel anytime I'm called upon to deliver a speech, like passing out ceremonies, you know, graduation ceremonies or whatever, most of the time they ask me to be the guest speaker, and I gladly oblige, because then it gives me an opportunity to say to these kids, look, you know, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible so long as you set your mind to it and you can do whatever you want to do, you know. And they really love it, because then they look at me and they're thinking, wow, you know, if she can do this, and you know, I don't see why we cannot do this. And then when we have those sessions, they ask a lot of questions, you know, they ask questions, and you'll be surprised, you know, the young minds now, the way they are thinking, very analytical, I must say. So when they ask all these questions, it's like they're trying to say, well, if you can do it, especially during your time when things were not that easy. Remember, we didn't have internet, we didn't have, and in Africa, sometimes electricity is out. You have to use candles to study, you know, but since we wanted to do it, we just did it, you see. So at least now when the lights go off, they tell you to put the generator on, you know. We didn't have all of that. We had our candles by our sides. When the lights went off, you lit your candle, but you needed to do that homework. So now and again, you'll even find the droppings from the candle wax on your paper. Then you now have to scratch it off before submitting your essay, but it has to be done.
Yeah, the whole generator thing was new. I mean, the first time I went to Liberia and I was doing training, you know, we were training at a hotel in Monrovia, and we were training magistrates, prosecutors, and defense counsel, and the lights went out. And, you know, I hadn't experienced that. I had experienced that during storms in the US. And so I was like, what, you know, what's going on? What's going on? And they said, oh, just hold on a minute, Judge, the generator will kick in. So I got to the point by the time we left that when the lights would go off, we would just carry on, because that's what you had to do. That's what you had to do. And the other thing that strikes me about you is you have never let the robe get in the way of your humanity. your humility and ability to relate to everyday people. Why is that so important for a judge?
Yes, I think it's my background again, the way I was brought up. For 14 years, I was an only child, so until my sister came along. So my mom always said to me, it's not because you have all these opportunities. Take a look at your neighbors, look at the children, they are happy without all these opportunities. And you should never let your success get into your head, because you could be here one day and we are gone tomorrow. So, that humility was there. You talked about helpers. Yes, I grew up in a household where we've had helpers from day one, but my mom would say, you don't talk to your helpers like that. You don't just come and say, where is my dress? You say, have you washed my dress? Please, please and thank you. She would always say the magic words, you know what I mean? So because of that, I grew up learning that no matter what you become, you do not forget where you've come from. Because if the other person had got an equal opportunity, they might have even done better than you have done. So you don't look down on people. My mom would say, remember to be nice to the person. If you go to a building, you are climbing up the steps. She loved using staircases all the time. You're going up, greet that person you meet at the foot of the staircase, because when you are coming down, that person will be there. So if you've gone up with arrogance and then you've gone to receive your resignation letter or your sack letter, and you're coming down again, that person is there, So, that is just in me. If I tell you that up to Friday, anytime I go to the office and the cleaners are there, as soon as I get in, I would say, morning, Nangen Dev, how are you people? Because the way I look at it, it's not because of my position. They are also humans, and God has blessed me. I always say to myself, I'm not more educated than all these people. I've just been blessed. So when you've been blessed, you appreciate what God has given to you, and you don't misuse it. This is it. And in fact, this was why I always refused to grant interviews, because I would rather just be in the background, don't let people know about anything about me, you know what I mean? But then people started saying, no, you have to let them, you have to talk so people would know. It's just the humility in me.
Well, it's your story is so important. It's so critical to the history of Gambia. It's critical to the history of women. It's critical to the history of the judiciary. And just like you said, the blessings we've received, I believe we have a responsibility. A duty to give back. And like you said, but for the grace of God, we could be cleaning the streets, that we could be working in the hotels. We could be, and that is good, honest, decent work. We're not saying that's not honest, decent work, but it was just God's blessing that allowed us to have these opportunities. And so if we don't give back, if we don't stand up, if we don't remember those who are less fortunate, and certainly as a judge, it seems to me that is so critical. So my final question is, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want people to remember you? And I'm not trying to hasten anything about, because we never know when our time is coming. I'm not trying to say that. But what I want to find out is, what do you want people to remember about you, or what do you want your legacy to be?
I want people to remember me as a very determined person who from the onset knew what she wanted and tried desperately to achieve it, and then having achieved what I was looking for, I made sure I didn't just sit idly. I just proved myself all the time, showing people that it can be done and there's nothing impossible, So I just want people to realize and remember that whatever you set out to do, that self-determination, that confidence, self-esteem must always be there. And that's it. And then the sky is the limit.
The sky is the limit, and you have flown into the sky. You have surely shown us how to fly and how to be successful, and how, as your mother would say, walk up those stairs. So thank you so much, Justice,
Stairs.
for this time you've spent with us and for being so honest and candid and sharing your life story and your philosophy for this project. It is so very, very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. It was nice talking to you. I appreciate it.